Because when you sell a product, all you have to do is build the value of the product or service above the value of their money. And the way you do that is by obviously building a relationship, having a conversation, and figuring out what their pain points are, what their desires are, where they see themselves. You know, how does this product or service, or how would solving that problem benefit these individuals specifically? So now when I actually start my presentation, I can point out features, advantages, and benefits of my products or services and directly relate them to the client I'm talking to rather than just general. There are some people out there that they don't really want to win. They just want to claim they want to win. Why? So they can check the box. I want to win too, but I'm not willing to do the work. You can only fly under the radar so long, my friend, and pretty soon you're going to be identified as someone who does not want to win. Especially if you're following my channel, because I'm giving people point blank, simple frickin' recipes for success. If someone watches all of my content and still doesn't succeed, it's simply because they chose not to. Now, why they chose not to depends on the person. Probably some limiting belief, probably some agreement they made with themselves or someone else a long time ago that doesn't warrant success, doesn't warrant freedom, doesn't warrant love, doesn't warrant comfort. So how do they win? Well, they got to go back to the drawing board and rebuild their self-worth, rebuild their self-value. They got to go right back to the roots of it all, which is your mindset. There's two kids, right? They put one in a room full of shit, and they put one in another room full of shit. Both kids, the only difference is one's rich and one's poor. So they go into the rich kid an hour later and he's pissed. They're like, what's the problem? He says, dude, you locked me into a room full of shit, man. You know, this is not cool. So they go over to the other kid, the poor kid, and he's in there playing around and freaking happy as can be. And they're like, what are you doing, little buddy? And he says, well, with all this shit, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere. Now, why do you think that is? Well, dude, that's the same situation. Both kids are in the same situation, but one of them decides that there's something that could be a positive thing out of it, and all of a sudden, that person's happy. So we don't find happiness and we don't build happiness. We choose happiness, you see? You create a dream. You don't chase your dream. Who the fuck wants to chase a dream? In order to close a deal, there's only one technique. Step one, you have to figure out what the real objection is, or all of them, because sometimes there's more than one. We call that identify the objection. How do you identify the objection? Very simple. You create a hypothetical solution that solves any objection that they gave you. Now, to close the deal, to consummate the deal, you use that information now and move into a phase called logic, which is leverage, obvious gain, intelligence, and common sense. So that's the technique. That's what you do every single time. Someone says no. Why not no? You're identifying and isolate the objection. They give you a reason. You want to test it because most of them are lies. So you test it by solving it to see if that causes them to move forward. If it causes them to move forward, now you use logic and frickin' find your way home. And by the way, you can't close every deal.
I think I should be making way more money than I do, and I should have way more than I have.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that. Absolutely.
So
I agree with you.
Why am I that way?
The harder you work, the more likely you are to push the money, the wealth, the success away from you. I know a lot of hardworking broke people.
So do I. Most of them are broke.
Yeah.
The hardest workers have the least amount of money.
This American dream conversation is dead. And we can have a moment of silence for it if you need to, but it's dead. Hard work is not the key to success. Thank you.
One of the, I'd say, first skills that I figured out I had was when I was 6 years old selling those world's finest chocolates door to door. I knocked on the door. I said, you have the phone number to a good roof repairman? They said, what? And I said, because when you taste one of these, you're going to go through the roof. And they started buying box after box after box. Money's worthless unless you use it. And most people, you know, they get going in this entrepreneurial journey and they start to get a little money. And then they remember how it was to be broke and they don't want to feel that way anymore. So they hold on to their money so they have this security blanket and they feel good about it. You know, I got this security blanket. I'm not broke anymore. But in reality, dude, you just stunted your growth because that right there, that is the tool to make more money and you're not willing to use it anymore. It'd be the equivalent of me walking up to you, see you building a birdhouse with a butter knife, But yet you got a whole shed of tools right next to you. And I say, Lance, what are you doing? And you're like, dude, I'm building a birdhouse. And I go, yeah, but you're using a butter knife. But you got all those tools sitting right there. Why don't you just use those tools? And you say, no, I'm saving those. And I'm like, what are you saving them for? And you say, in case I want to build something someday. Well, aren't you building a birdhouse, motherfucker?
When I'm speaking, it's different. Our book launched
You do
the
a lot
last
of
3
speeches?
weeks. I haven't in the last 6-7 months, but I used to.
How much you get paid?
20 to 30K.
You know why you don't get 50?
Why?
Because you haven't asked for it.
True. You're right.
One time someone came to me and asked,
My first 50K, I'm sending you 5.
somebody said to me one day, can you help me double my business? And I said, probably. And he said, well, how? And I said, well, what do you do? He tells me what he does. I said, what do you charge? He tells me what he charges. And I said, double it. He goes, what? I'm like, just fucking double your fee. He goes, I can't double my fee.
That's the first response. I can't.
Dude, he fucking doubled his fee and tripled his business.
It's amazing.
It's all perspective. Like he wasn't valuing his services. So what did I do? I made him value his own services. Yeah. He started coming up with a higher number, and guess what? People paid it. He wasn't valuing his services.
Have the gratitude that you just got $1 million. Because guess what? You all would decline my $1 million if it meant you couldn't wake up. So that means you believe waking up is worth more than $1 million. So with that in mind, like how gracious and grateful would someone be if they just got blessed basically with $1 million cash? Dude, you'd be so fired up. You'd be so enthusiastic. You'd be so pumped up. It would be a powerful day. Nobody could rain on your parade. You'd be freaking skipping to work. You'd be smiling from ear to ear. It would be the happiest day of your life for $1 million. And guess what? Waking up in the morning's worth more than that. And you know it. You all agree to it. Which means the second you open your eyes, you have that gratitude and you remember, holy crap, dude, I just got an unbelievable gift. Now you leap out of bed with that in mind, and your whole entire day becomes an opportunity rather than a challenge. The questions that you're asking are now going to give you the information so you can determine what to continue to ask, and you gather all the information necessary to sell them your product or service. How do you do that? By building value. You use the information to build the value in your product or service specific to that customer. So the questions you're asking, what's this for? Who's it going to be for? A lot of times people run in and they, I'm going to look at a Corvette. Next thing you know, they're telling me how fast it is, and it turns out it's for my daughter. Why would you go around telling people how fast it is when maybe the safety is their concern? What brought you in to look for a Corvette? Who buys those anymore? So, dude, if you just spend your life collecting assets, by the time you're my age, dude, you're going to be rich as shit because, dude, you could literally stop working your earned income and your income would be massive just because of the incremental assets that you bought along the way. Everyone thinks you need all this money, you need apartment buildings, you need all this big money. No, you don't, dude. You need to start right now, especially when you're young, and you need to start buying assets and stop buying liabilities. When you're awesome for as long as I've been,
I love it.
You tend to get a little bit, no, I'm just joking. Ultimately, here's what I do. I call them the Sacred Six. It's real easy. First thing I got to do is forgive myself for all the shit that I've caused. Step 2, you have to commit to do what you say you're going to do. Literally start building value in yourself. Step 3 is rack up some wins. And then you start to build confidence and you start to gain a little momentum. And you start to feel good about yourself and you start to expect a little bit more. Then step 4 comes into play. You want to eliminate idiots, even if you're alone. Like it's better to be alone than around the wrong people. Step 5 is to basically create a map and visualize it. 6 is seek new information on a daily basis. When you get new information, you literally start to change your beliefs, and changing your beliefs is the key.